I welcome a good friend and colleague I'm from Utah's first, I call it best district, and California. I believe California, yep. You are also the first district, and so we call it the best district. So California's best district. My colleague from California won. Thank you.
Thank you, my colleague from Utah. That's the fighting firsts, I guess we have, right? So thank you. Madam Speaker, we come to this microphone day after day, especially the last two and a half, 3 years, and we're recounting the difficulty that we're putting, this collective body here, the House, the Senate, government in general, we're putting the people of this country through unnecessary pain, unnecessary crisis. It's one after another. This isn't made by weather or nature or even foreign enemies per se. We're causing it by the actions either from this administration directly or their bureaucracy. And so it's one thing after another. In my home state of California, we echo that in spades there as well. So one of them right now is the condition that we're treating women and girls in this country. Now, it might be the usual saw, might be about abortion or something. No, look what's happening. For girls and women in their sports, in their opportunities, you have men masquerading as women because they can't cut it on a men's team in sports, for example. So they switch over and just start competing on a women's team or on a girls' team in school. How are we even at this point of entertaining this as a legitimate and wise way of doing things? And I keep asking, where are the feminist groups on this? Are they so locked into politics and unidarity with being unified with the left that they're willing to sacrifice the futures of girls and young women in college, or, with scholarships, and plus the camaraderie of sports anyway? The goodness that comes from working as a team, or those individual efforts you have in individual sports of excelling, and finding that just dashed because there's a couple of biological males competing in that same sport with some of the built-in physical advantage they have in many sports. Maybe not all, but a lot of them. Seeing them losing opportunities for maybe scholarships at the college level or winning the gold medal in whatever sport it is. So I'm glad to stand with the female athletes as they continue what has been a long fight to have that opportunity in sports. Title IX coming along and had some fits and starts getting there, but they deserve to have the same opportunities as men do. It's a different fight these days, because what we see is the left actually intently erasing women. Their opportunities are being taken. As I've said, the spaces on sports teams, they're filling out the rosters, biological males on there, scholarships on the podium as they win their medals, being replaced with biological men. Sports across the country Americans in these sports across the country are rightly outraged at what has happened and what is happening to women's and girls' sports. Of course, I've signed on to several initiatives at the congressional level to protect women and girls' spaces, such as the Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act, that keeps men from taking scholarships, roster spots, and championship titles from women in athletics. Indeed, it's a point of insanity where we are with this, and it's really unfair that they would have to even fight for this opportunity to compete on a stage, on a field, what have you, with biological men, be pitted against them in contact sports, possibly physically harmed due to the physical advantages that are frequent, or the indignity of having to share a locker room space the way you're raised, with modesty, with the obvious separation of the sexes up until this recent phenomena that seems to be having so much momentum amongst the left, amongst people that seem like have just really lost their sensibilities. So in this effective silence of the voices of female athletes, with the expectation to conform, all because of a gender identity and ideologically it's running amok right now. Indeed, we're kind of a laughingstock as a country from some of the countries that are still developing their own sports and contemplating what the heck is it they're doing over there. Women are being directly hurt by this, as I mentioned, with the physical harm, concussions, skull fractures, other injuries, and being pushed out of their opportunities by this intrusion of males. So it's imperative that for the next generation of girls, that they be able to grow up and know that they're cared about, that they're loved, that they matter, instead of just being erased from these opportunities. It's just unbelievable we have to talk about this. So indeed, under this Biden era and others, my home state of California and several other states that are doing this, it's one crisis after another. I want to talk about energy for a minute too, because that's another unneeded crisis that is being inflicted upon the people of this country due to the costs. Now, energy is the basis for so much of our economy and the cost of our economy. In my real life, I'm a farmer. So before the 23 crop, we saw the price of fuel double, price of fertilizer triple. Excuse me, that's a 22 crop. 23, it came back down a little bit. But in my home state of California, it's still often and normal to see $5 fuel. $5 fuel out on the roadway there. And all caused because the day President Biden came in, he started having an anti-American energy policy that's harming our ability to develop and transport natural gas, which is very important, for example, in fertilizer production, but also in warming the grain storage around the country, putting warm air on the grain so it'll dry out and stay preserved, and so many other forms of use of natural gas in heating homes and operating power plants. And with the miracle of hydraulic fracturing developed not that long ago, America came from an energy user to the ability to be a major energy exporter. The prices of it came down so much that other countries were actually looking at locating more and more factories here because the cost of energy was going to be so low. And so we have the Biden administration doing everything it can to cut off more development and usage of natural gas at the pass. Why is that? Natural gas burns cleanly. It's one of the good transition fuels as we move from other forms to that. But we still need all of them. We need all of them. Hydroelectric power is clean, CO2-free electricity, yet it's being pushed out as more and more dams are being, in my own home district in Northern California, 4 dams on the Klamath River are being attacked right now. One of them's already been taken down. Ostensibly, the idea is to save fish there, even though the fish historically haven't really traveled up the river the way that they is claimed, and so that they aren't true spawning grounds of a lake that is warm, Klamath Lake, and not ideal for this type of fish. Science doesn't seem to matter on that because it's a political situation that's being hustled on us. So we're going to lose this hydroelectric at the same time when many are mandating by the year 2035 or 2045 or whatever they want to make up at the time that we have to have X amount of electric cars or electric stoves or electric leaf blowers and lawnmowers or heaven knows moving into trucks and trains and even airplanes. And they're taking away the ability to generate the electricity. Clean, CO2-free, baseload power such as hydroelectric, and really clean fossil fuel, but still a very clean and efficient natural gas. I've been attending a lot of seminars on nuclear energy as well. There's another CO2-free power source that is baseload, that's dependable, it's 24/7. And we're having such difficulty procuring and permitting new nuclear plants. The technology has continued to improve and get better, and for these smaller plants, it would be more ideal in locating in near cities and such that the technology, the safety is there, but we can't hardly talk about that. We have to have a breakthrough on that so we could be energy independent with low cost, what would appear to be renewable energy. Renewable isn't just windmills and solar panels, which are really unreliable. We have the opportunity to have baseload power that would be low priced and available 24/7 with these technologies. But we have roadblocks time and time again. They want to tear down dams. They want to get rid of natural gas that would power some of them. They are hesitant on nuclear energy, and there just doesn't seem to be a solution for the left because everything is no. It isn't all going to be served by solar panels and windmills, because those are a tiny percent of our overall grid. The rest of the world is going ahead with oil and gas development and usage. The curve is going way up around the rest of the world. It's only us and a couple other Western countries that are hamstringing our ability to be energy independent, develop the energy we need, and have an economy here that instead that we're going to export to China and Asia. So we're harming ourselves by having this administration in charge with their wrong-headed, backwards policies on this. We need energy independence. We can do it cleanly, responsibly. And I mentioned CO2 a couple times, all right? CO2 meaning, climate change and the fear factor that is causing around the country. I remind you, CO2 is only 0.04% of our atmosphere. When I ask the average person on the street who's busy with their lives, doing what they do, they believe from all the hype, it's typically, they'll guess somewhere between 20 and 50%. No, it's 0.04%. And with the US and a couple other Western countries actually flattening their CO2 production and even dipping down a little bit, it's certainly not us that would be the so-called problem. It is the continued export of jobs, export of economy, and export of manufacturing to places like China and the Pacific Rim, where they don't have nearly the protections. But as we keep talking about a carbon-free life and going zero carbon, it's actually not necessary, because so little of the atmosphere is carbon dioxide anyway. It's not a threat. It's one that's used by government, by organizations, by international organizations to try and control more and more of our economy and of our lives. Taking away our vehicles, taking away our mobility, telling us we need to live in stacked communities instead of the way we live, running people off the rural areas of, like my district and the western states, running people out of the cattle business and such by introducing wolves, decimating the deer and elk populations as well as livestock, basically pushing people out that are productive people that serve all those folks that make these policies that live in the cities. So I guess maybe they need to go to the end of the food line when we're talking about what they're doing to devastate agriculture as well as these other industries that provide the minerals, electricity, energy, everything they need. So with that, there's so many crises that are unneeded in this country. I could go all day long, but I shouldn't. But I hope people will take heart on this and look at what the policies are that are being made by the Biden administration, by Democrats in the Senate, and the majority we see in my home state of California, 3-to-1 Democrat majority with Governor Newsom, and the havoc that's being wreaked on the people of California with these wrong-headed policies. And certainly, I would invite the rest of the country not to emulate what California does. Thank you for the time. I'll yield back.